Hello, land flippers. I am Chris Thomas, and this is Land Flipping 101. Today, I'll be answering some questions that were posted on this page. And first, though, I want to start you off by telling you about my pipeline. So, as of today, I have 3 properties under contract with a closing date this month in May. And I'm going to go ahead and tell you that the total profit, drum roll please, for May is projected to be $106,000. I'm totally celebrating that. That is a huge month and definitely my biggest so far. I have 5 more currently for sale and an additional 3 that are just about to hit the market. My prospective seller pipeline has about 23 in it. And well, I was going to show you, but I have probably about 5 messages, which I have not yet listened to, from sellers who are responding to my letter. Whew, so busy. But I hope that this encourages you in your land journey because I know you are just beginning. And there can be information overload, like who should I listen to? And who can I trust? There's just so much information out there, and putting all the pieces together can be a challenge. So I share my success with you because I want you to believe that you can do this, and I will help you. So spring is my favorite season, and with the warm days of May and the budding flowers, there are also signs of post-pandemic economic growth and renewal. So in real estate news today from Realtor.com, they report what you've probably already noticed about the consumer confidence all around you. An important sign of this comes from the initial estimate of the first quarter GDP, where it showed the economy advanced at a strong pace. And we are seeing the reopening of service businesses, travel, and hospitality businesses. Plus, with the government stimulus payments, people are just feeling confident right now. Of course, jobless claims are important to look at the economy. So the 4-week average is the lowest level since March 14th of last year, just before the quarantine, which points to a growth in employment in the months ahead. And these positive numbers really underscore real advances in our economic framework, which result in rising optimism. The health crisis is vanishing, and a return to normal is definitely in sight. The consumer confidence soared to a 14-month high in April, so this is very good news. The Federal Reserve left the short-term interest rate unchanged this week, and they continue to support economic recovery through asset purchases. The real estate markets just continue to outpace the economic recovery, and activity remained heated in April, according to Realtor.com. They said homes are selling at an average of 43 days on the market, and that inventory continues to evaporate in home sales, pushing prices higher, leaving buyers just wondering if they can find or afford a home in this environment. Several numbers indicate that relief may be on the horizon because the Fed they're purchasing mortgage-backed securities, and the interest rates are still really favorable. I think this week's 30-year mortgage rate is still below 3%. And a Realtor.com survey showed that 1 in 10 homeowners are planning to sell this year at prices under $350,000, which is a tremendous boost for first-time home buyers and the economy. Remember, whatever happens to houses will happen to land eventually. And that's this week's real estate news. All right, so I'm going to answer a few questions here from the Facebook page. Jimmy Belcher asked, I'm putting together a mailer this weekend around 1,000 to 1,100. What types of land would you be looking for if wanting to use investor money? And Jimmy, thanks for the question. If by saying that you want to use investor money, you mean that the sky's the limit on what you can spend, then I would be looking for large acreage where you may be able to sell to a developer or even develop it yourself. I guess that would really depend on what kind of goals you have ultimately, though. And really, any good deal that has a great margin, like 50% profit or more, would be a good target. And then Mike asked, how do we get long-term financing to keep the land once the seller is willing to sell? And I was a little unclear about what Mike meant. So I messaged him about this, and he said that he has a 6-acre piece of land that he's been trying to buy for over a year, trying to find creative ways to get the money to hold it and turn it into a food truck park. What an interesting idea. I think I would probably just ask the seller if he or she would be willing to finance it for you. I think most of us in this group, though, are trying to flip the land. And I don't know where your land is, and I haven't worked with these people, but I have heard of two banks that do land loans. One is called Frost Bank, and the other is Shell Federal Credit Union. So maybe that will help also. All right, Tom Ramey. Hello, Tom. I'm glad you've been so active. You asked, how do you deal with capital gains? Well, Tom, if you're above 18, I bet you know what I'm going to say to this. I'm not a CPA or an attorney, so please check with one licensed in your state. But I have heard that land is supposed to be treated as inventory. So I believe that's how you avoid capital gains. Also, I've heard that you can use your IRA to buy and sell land to avoid the personal income showing on your tax returns. Once you reach 59 and a half years old, you can start drawing that money out tax free. And there are no taxes paid on the growth either, just the initial contribution. Arturo asked, do you set a market value range on data tree or just acreage? And then you went on to say a few more things. I mean, that's a great question. Market value filter is entirely up to your personal preference. And I would probably narrow it down as much as possible to get the best result. And remember, you're doing the market research before you're getting to data tree. So market value isn't really the right number. And I really only use it for tests like 20 to 100,000 to start and then remove any outliers like those $1 million ranches. But because I've done the research beforehand on other sites, I kind of have already figured out the price ranges I'm targeting. And you can do that on Zillow or Realtor and search the area to find the pricing of sold real estate in that area and in your target acreage size. I hope that helps. Arturo also asked, have you ever used Priced? And if so, what do you think of it? So for those of you who don't know, Priced is a pricing software. It's relatively new. And I have mentioned on this group before, I do use Priced quite a lot, and I'm very happy with it. I would recommend it for 5 acres and up. I probably would not recommend it for the smaller acreages. But since we're a group of land flippers and primarily I focus on rural land, I would say I'm very happy with it because that's larger acreage. But remember, it should not be your final answer. You should still run your own comps to verify their pricing and kind of spot check that it's still within the range of what you're trying to achieve and what you agree with. Okay. Next, Krista asked, what are the steps you take after you find a buyer? Great question. And Krista, you didn't mention whether you had already signed a contract with the buyer or if you owned the property outright or simply have it under contract to purchase. But first things first, get it in writing. So sign a contract with the other person, and you can get one if you don't already have one from a title company, a real estate attorney, or the Realtor Association, and then send it to title where mostly it'll all be handled. I guess it also depends on the price range because I know some people want to self-close on the really small deals. So again, it kind of goes back to what your goal is. But title I use for all my deals, and they'll usually tell you what's needed. So I think I've answered all the questions. Thank you, Arturo, for showing up to watch. And hi, Edgar, Eric, my girl Chris, I love it. Reggie, good to see you again. If you have any other questions, just shoot me a private message. You can also set up a 15-minute meeting with me. There's no charge. Just find the Calendly link at the top of this page, and this will connect you to my calendar and put a time on the schedule. Also, just shoot me questions or post them in the group. I'm happy to help. Good luck with your land investing business this week, and have a good weekend. Bye-bye.